67 with the one and only, the talented, inspiring sports journalist. She worked for WFAN, Danielle McCartan. She does some amazing work. Go check her out on all social media formats. But this is truly an honor on Martin Luther King Jr. Day. I just want to say thank you for joining me. How are you and your family doing during this tough situation? And obviously, we're in the new year. Hopefully, some positive news comes out soon.
Yeah, no, all good. I just left my meetings for the day, so happy to do it, and let's get it going.
Yeah. So, for you, when you were growing up, when did you realize that you wanted to get into the sports industry as a journalist, as a reporter, and a host too? So, when did you realize? When did you start realizing that you want to get into this business?
I'm a very late comer, actually. It wasn't until it was after college. I mean, it wasn't like growing up, I wanted to do this, be this. I just feel like, I don't know, I'm good at a lot of different things, and I don't ever want to, like, I don't know, I just want to keep evolving as a person. And I think this was a natural evolution. I've always played sports. I've always been a fan of sports. And I was like, well, why didn't I ever do this sooner? Like, why didn't I think to do this sooner? So I had a college professor that kind of told me, like, you should do this. And I was like, all right, well, I'm going to try it. And I did, and I started a blog, and I talked to Tony Reale, actually.
Oh,
And he's like, yeah, I met him at an Italian conference, actually, nothing relating to do with sports. And he was like, hey, you got a blog? I was like, yeah. He goes, you got a Twitter? I was like, yeah. He goes, all right, link them and start growing an audience. And that was kind of how it started. And then here we are. That probably had to be maybe 8 years ago. And here we are. So.
yeah. So, what sports did you play growing up?
Yeah, I wanted to play football, but my mom said I was too little for it. So I ended up playing basketball, volleyball once I got to high school, and baseball, actually,
Wow.
until freshman year when they made me switch to softball. So I guess you could say 4 sports, I guess, technically, because they are different.
Yeah. So, what was it like? Obviously, what was it like just playing 4 sports and obviously baseball? What was that experience like playing baseball?
I was, it's funny. It's probably one of the most defining moments of my I don't want to say like my life. I don't want to be dramatic, but I tried out for the Little League team. And in my town, we had Little League and we had like minor Little League. And I've talked about this on the air that, like, when I went to that tryout, I was better than the boys. I was the only girl, and I was so much better than them. And, that night you were going to get the phone call to see which team you made, which level. And I was so like, oh, minor league goes for like the peons, and I actually made minor league. There was not one Little League coach that took me, even though I was better than the boys. And so when I say that was defining, and also too, I was never called up to the major Little Leagues. I was the only person not called up to the major Little Leagues, despite having made the all-star team every year. So I don't know what it could have been. I know I was the best on my team. And that was validated by the fact that day one, when I went to freshman year softball tryouts, it was 7:30 in the morning. They kept me through the varsity tryout, which was 2 p.m. And I was the starting varsity shortstop from freshman year until I graduated. So that goes to tell you how good I actually was, and still am. I'm going to be on the Boomer and Carton team this year, or the Boomer.
Speaking of, I met Boomer and Gio on in person. I met the whole crew in person at a charity event. They do the softball charity events, and I met all of them. They're awesome, and I'm trying to get some of them on the show too as we speak. But hopefully they can come on soon. But so obviously, I want to ask you about women in sports later on. But who did you look up to as a reporter, journalist, or a host when you were growing up?
I always looked at Kim Jones on the Yes Network, and I always would say, oh, I want her job. But I never thought to do it, But Kim Jones, I think, is excellent. She's the gold standard. And then maybe about 3 years ago, maybe 4, no, probably 3 years ago, I met Laura Oakman, who has been creating a network of female reporters like myself with Galvanize. And it's just having her with her experience and everything, and just having her connect us to other people that are like us, it's so invaluable. So those are the top 2, I would say.
And that's another great woman to learn from. She's one of the best, in my opinion, in the industry. So for you, take me back to your first opportunity when you got to cover these games and talk about these sports, and how grateful are you to be in this position right now?
Yeah, I mean, I'll take the second question first. How grateful? Well, I didn't really realize it until I got furloughed during COVID times. And so, it was tough, but, especially with no sports at all, it was hard. I started watching Netflix for the first time to actually watch like shows, but, um, I don't know. Wait, what was the first part of the question?
Oh, the first one was take me back to your first opportunity when you got to cover these games and then like host them or talk about them.
The first game I ever covered was probably through my friend's website, Back Sports Page, Randy Zelia. He's great. He's been also a very influential person in my career. He sent me to a Met game once to cover, and oh my God, it was like the coolest thing. He sent me to, it was like a Saturday, Sunday during a players weekend. Oh my God, it was the coolest thing. I was like, people do this for a living. I can't believe this. And I got to go into the clubhouses and all that. And I was like a kid in a candy shop, absolutely loved it. And then so, I wish, and then pretty much COVID hit. So I really didn't get any more opportunity to do games. Hopefully I will be able to soon. But yeah, that was just the coolest thing. Like, I did a story on the players. I didn't ask like the silly, I don't want to say silly, but how did you do today? But like before the game, I wanted to do a special on what they were doing for Players Weekend. So Michael Conforto showed me his bat. I had, what's his name? Frazier taking out his cleats.
Oh, wow.
Jeff McNeil was so excited showing the camera the cleats. Oh my God, it was just awesome. It was so cool. It was very cool.
So how did the WFAN job come about, and what did they say to you, and what was it like when they gave you the opportunity to come on there to be a studio host and obviously work a late shift, 2 to 6 in the morning? That's crazy.
I know, and it's even crazier when you consider my day job. Actually, I wake up at 6 in the morning every day during the week, so body clock is all out of sorts. But the first time I ever had a shift on the fan, it was an hour. It was like a tryout. It was an hour worth of Tony Page's show.
Okay.
And he was great. That was the only time I ever had met him, but he gave me an hour of his show. He showed me how the call screener worked. I was so nervous. I didn't even know how to do it, and they told me, okay, you have to prepare a 20-minute monologue. I was like, 20 minutes? That's so long. Like, what could you talk about? I practice it. I time it. I still do. But it was so crazy. And then it's just, the people are so nice. Like the Tony Page crowd, the overnight crowd. I mean, it could be really grueling if you look over and there's not a single phone call or one phone call waiting for you. Right. Like, that is grueling. So when I would look over, every time when I look over and I see at least 3 or 4 or 5, I'm like, because that's the max. I'm like, oh my God, this is cool. I can imagine what it's going to be like one day when I get a daytime shift. Like, oh my God, it's going to be so cool. But the overnight crowd is awesome, very welcoming, very knowledgeable even too. So it was pretty cool.
So speaking of networking, connecting with people, what's it like working with Boomer, Gio, Al, and even Mark Malusis and Maggie Gray, Tony Page, you just mentioned, a legend. So what's it like just working with them and learning from the best?
Well, I don't ever see them. That's the one thing. And I don't really work, with them. It's just based on the how do I say it? I don't know, like the name of the game, like your shifts don't overlap, So I do though. I did a segment about Kim Ng when she got ownership of the or GM, I'm sorry, of the Miami Marlins. I did a segment with her and Lori Rubinson, and they were so on board with it. So yeah, they're all great. They're all helpful. If you need help, they will help you. Whoever it is at that, whether it's a producer, anybody, they'll help you. It's just I don't really get to actually work with them or really even see them because it's like 2 ships passing in the night all the time, And people are still working from home. Some of us are going in, so it's kind of,
Speaking of connection, I actually I'm good friends with Bobby Thompson. If you know him, his mother played with your mom on base softball. I think
played with me on the women's league. Yeah.
What was that like?
Oh, I love playing in the women's league. I'm so cutthroat all the time with everything I do, and I bring a little bit of intensity to it, and they'll tell you that. I like to win. I just like to win in everything I do, and so yeah, it's fun. That gives me a little time to just relax, and it's not so serious, and but it's fun, and it's a way to stay involved in the game, and it's a way to work out. I'm getting a little older now. It's a way to work out in a fun way, and I love it. And every single season I'll be back. Although we're on the Phillies, I don't know who picked that team. I don't know, but couldn't be the Mets, couldn't be the Yankees. It had to be the Phillies. I can't. Any other team, I can't. Or the Red Sox. Good thing it's not that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think Bobby said that he wants you to come on their show too. They have a podcast too with Julian. It's called the Go-To Sports Talk, and from Grunt Talk. So I think he wants you to come on the show too one time.
Yeah, have him message me.
Yeah. So I want to ask you this. So what's it like working the 2 to 6 a.m. 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. shift? And how tough is it though just to get your thoughts gathered and get ready for the show? What's the process for you just to get ready for the show?
Yeah, that's a good question because it's like because I'm on once a week. I
Okay.
found that and I've done a couple back to backs. I found it's easier to do back to backs because you only have to stay on top of like one news cycle, like one day, you know.
Yeah.
When you're on Saturday and then not again until the next Saturday, you have to be really on top of. I got my notifications in my phone. You have to be really on top of the stories that develop throughout the week,
Yeah.
and then come like Friday, don't bother me Friday. I want to be just me and my computer on Friday and all day Saturday just catching up. And I think it would be different though if I didn't have like a career. Like obviously my days are and even after I get off with you, I'm going to be doing more stuff for my career.
Right.
You know, but starting Thursday, I start to compile some major stories. Friday, I really get into a few of them. Saturday, it's like, don't even bother me. My friends know. No one texts me. No one calls me because it's just like, I don't have time for you. And then I wake up Sunday afternoon. Mondays usually my off days and Tuesdays that I reserve to do podcasts and other things. Yeah, that's kind of like the schedule. And I kind of adapted it. And 2 to 6, it's I'm not going to lie. It's kind of rough. I mean, it's a hard time to be awake. I mean, and not only to be awake, it's in the city, it's you're
Yeah.
on. But you know what? Once you get there, once that mic turns on, the little light comes
Yeah.
on, it's like adrenaline.
Game on. Yeah.
Game on. That's what it is. Game on.
Yeah. So another question here, though, I'm just curious. So how do you lay out your guest list when it comes to the 2 a.m. shift? Because some of these guests, do you particularly reach out to West Coast people to come on your show at that time, or?
Yeah, it depends. And sometimes it's like earlier in the day they can do it. Obviously not in the middle. Some of them are live.
Yeah.
But some of them are also like pre-recorded that day. It's just hard. Like, you can't expect somebody to wake up and though people have like Art Stapleton from the Giants,
Yeah.
he's woken up for me. It's hard, but I always try to have guests because I think it adds a certain element to the show that people, it's one thing for me to talk about sports for 4 hours, but when you hear about, like last week I had on Misha Tate, when you
Oh,
hear about,
Misha Tate, that's a big
yeah,
one.
yeah. So when you have the Conor McGregor fight, you don't want to hear me talk about it. You want to hear somebody that knows him, that used to do it, that former champion, and it just gives a whole nother element. So every single show I do try to have at least one guest on just to give a different perspective.
Man, what was that like talking to Misha Tate, one of the best and women UFC fighters, and what did you learn from her personality on the show?
Yeah, she's awesome. I connected with her actually through, it's a long story, but for my podcast, I had a podcast right when COVID really hit. January it started, and then by, the sales went down and everything, and then July it was over. But I interviewed her at long form actually for it, and she's so awesome. She's just, and then ever since then, and we've been like texting and everything, and then I can think we're like friends now. So when I asked her, "Would you want to come on?" She was like, "Absolutely. What time? Tell me." So she's on the West Coast, so you know what I mean. So oh yeah, she's just awesome. It's crazy to me how she is, and then like how I know her, and then like she could be this lethal like person in the octagon. It's just it blows my mind. I was thinking about that today actually.
Yeah, she is by far the best UFC fighter to me. I mean, Amanda Nunes is another one, but like Misha Tate is up there too, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But speaking of UFC, I had Frank Edgar on my show way back, and he's another on the men's side. He's one of the best. And this Friday, actually, I'm having Carrie Bryant. She covers UFC. So she's coming on the show this Friday. So it's always good to build those connections, especially for you and all these other journalists out there and hosts, building this connection with the guests. And that's amazing that you have that really strong relationship with Misha, and you can reach out to her anytime you want. That's amazing.
I know. I pinch myself. It's something else. It really is.
Yeah. So I know that you're a big Yankee fan. I'm a Yankee fan too. So what do you like about this offseason so far? Obviously, we got DJ back finally, and we got Corey Kluber. I like that signing, underrated signing. He's back. I think he's back fully healthy. So what do you like about these two moves so far?
Yeah, I mean, you said it. DJ LeMahieu was the number one target, and they finally pulled it off. Finally, thank God I don't have to take those phone calls anymore. And Kluber, I agree with you. I mean, I think the Yankees had an inside track on Kluber, just about knowledge about where he is and where he's going to be. I expect big things from Corey Kluber. But, beyond that, I mean, Kluber's a question mark. Severino's a question. The only non-question mark in the pitching rotation is
Yeah.
Garrett Cole. And what kind of pressure is that for him? I talked about this weekend, to have to go out and win, in the postseason, because that's where the Yankees are expected to be, to go out and win every single time, because beyond him, there's not much. So I think it's a recipe for disaster, and I think they need some sort of reinforcements. I do not like when they go with like the bullpen in game. I
Oh,
think
yeah.
it's ridiculous. Get out there and get a guy that can give you 6, 7. I like the 7-inning guys,
Yeah,
and
like
the Yankees don't have that, so I'm like a little concerned about that.
yeah, I mean, there's a report out there that they were talking to the Reds about Luis Castillo, but that got turned down quickly by the GM, the Reds GM. They're not going to trade him, I think, so that's out of the question. So where do you think the Yankees go from here, though, for another pitcher? Because Tanaka, I've been hearing he's really interested in going back to Japan, and I don't want to have. I would love to have him back, Tanaka, because he's the most reliable starter we have. But if not, then who do you think that will potentially replace him, because there's nothing else out except for Bauer. I mean, if you can get Bauer, that's money. But what do you think though? What other option? I've been hearing Joe Musgrove as another potential target. I don't know.
Your guess is as good as mine. I mean, the problem is that Giancarlo Stanton garners 26% of the Yankees' payroll this year at least, and he plays in not that many games. So that's the problem. That trade or that deal handcuffed them from the outset. I'm on the record saying it. And the problem is that the Yankees, against the luxury tax, have, I think it's only like around $5 million. There's not much you can do with that unless you get really creative on a guy like Tanaka, where you backload the contract with some money. So they don't have a lot of options. The only option might be a trade.
Yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be
and then who do you include at that point?
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see, and they're also linked into Michael Brantley too as a possible target for the outfield, and that'd be a great signing, I think, in my opinion, if we get Michael.
Yeah, but the outfield too is full. I mean, you got Stanton when he could play, you got Judge, you got Hicks. It's and then also Frazier. I think that guy should be playing left field every single day. So I don't know. The outfield's a little crowded. I'd rather do without Brantley, to be honest. And I actually would go out and get a true shortstop. I lobbied for, or have been lobbying for, Didi Gregorius.
Yeah.
He'll take some deferred money. And that puts Gleyber Torres on the trade block. And I took a lot of heat this weekend for saying it. But guess what? In that Castillo deal, guess what name was mentioned today?
Torres.
Torres. Thank you. Validation.
Wow. You would trade Torres, huh?
Listen, if you were to get a shortstop in, and that was the condition, if you were to get a true shortstop in, and there's next year even too, and DJ LeMahieu's locked in for 6 more years, there's really nowhere else he could play. What else are you going to do with him?
Yeah. So I'm obviously now switching gears to the Mets, and obviously they're making big headlines with Lindor and Carrasco and some other moves coming up for them. But what do you think of the Mets and Steve Cohen? And do you think that's a new Steinbrenner?
Oh man, I think Cohen is the new Steinbrenner, is the new George Steinbrenner, I should say. Yeah, the Mets they fell into it, didn't they? With him, they're making the big moves. I think a lot of people are sleeping on the Mets. I actually put my scale. My listeners know, like, my scale of bets. I go from like $3 to like 20. No, 10. 10. 3 to 10 is like my betting. Like 10, I'm really sure. I actually put a $20 bet on the Mets to win the World Series.
Wow.
Actually. So I'm really sure. I mean, the Mets are really coming together. I think they're closer than the Yankees. I probably get a little hate by Yankees fans for saying that, but look at it. Look at the pitching rotations. That's all you need to really know. In short series, whose rotation would you rather throw out there, the Yankees or the Mets?
Right.
I'm picking the Mets.
Yeah. So obviously we're in the mix of the NFL playoffs, and I'm a big Dallas Cowboy fan, unfortunately. So obviously, hopefully next year it's better. But I think you're a Giants fan, right?
I root for all the New York teams. I really do. I mean, I grew up a Yankees fan, but I don't root against the Mets. I grew up a Jets fan. I don't root against the Giants. I mean, if they're in it, so am I.
Yeah. So what do you think of this NFL playoffs so far? And obviously, now we have 4 teams left with the Packers, Packers, Buccaneers, and Bills. So, what do you think? What are you most looking forward to these matchups?
Winning some money. That's what I'm like. First of all, I'm 9-1 in my predictions. 9-1. I have the Bills to advance to the AFC Championship game, which I made all these bets on St. Patrick's Day. I picked St. Patrick's Day, the Bills to win or to advance to the Super Bowl from the AFC side, and I also picked the Bucs to win the Super Bowl. So,
wow.
Yeah, on the same day. So you know what? I'm rooting for my money to win. I like Patrick Mahomes. I mean, I like all the teams involved. My brother's a Packers fan. But if it hits me in the wallet, I'm rooting Bills and I'm rooting. I was almost said Patriots. Rooting Buccaneers for Tom Brady and company to win the whole thing, please.
Yeah, I got the Bills. I got the Bills winning the Super Bowl.
Do you? Well, good
Yeah,
for you.
I feel confident in the Bills, and they have something going this year. And I had Eric Wood on my show a couple I think it was 2 weeks ago, and he said, obviously former Bill, and I told him that I got you guys in the Super Bowl, winning the Super Bowl, and there's something positive going on their hype train this year. Bills Mafia, they have a great fan base, I think, and but you never know, anything can happen, and the Buccaneers are starting to heat up, so that's what we expected from them. So let's see what happens.
Hey,
Yeah.
did you see, speaking of Bills Mafia, did you see that since you probably saw it on Twitter, but I want everybody to know that the Bills fans are great. Lamar Jackson is associated with a charity that I guess provides meals to kids
Right.
where he's from on weekends where they can't really get the meals from their schools. And, the Bills obviously knocked him out with a concussion late in that game. And Bills Mafia raised almost $300,000 for
Wow.
that charity. So,
Really?
yeah. And it's not the first time they've done it. I forget the other player that they did it for, but they've done it in the past. So that's an awesome tradition that I really hope, perpetuates throughout the league, because Bills
Wow.
Mafia,
That's
it's a great
amazing.
thing.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah, that's really amazing. I didn't know that.
It
That's
was in 24 hours,
wow.
$300,000.
24 hours. Man, that's
Yeah.
crazy. Wow, kudos to them. I love it.
Yeah.
So I do this fun little segment called the rapid fire segment. But before we get to that, me and my co-host Alyssa, we partnered up with the Hugh Jackson Foundation. Obviously, a former head coach in the NFL. He's trying to get back into coaching, but they're focused on this foundation where we're ambassadors for them now. So we're helping them prevent human trafficking and making sure these kids and other people make the right choices and making the community safer. So when you guys get a chance, please check out the Hugh Jackson Foundation. We're really grateful to be part of it and helping them out and prevent human trafficking. So I just want to bring that up.
Awesome.
Yeah, so you ready for this rapid fire segment?
Let's do it.
All right. Kawhi Leonard's laugh or Kevin Hart's laugh?
Who was it? Oh, Kevin Hart was the second one?
Yeah, Kawhi's laugh or Kevin Hart?
Oh, definitely Kawhi.
Favorite food?
Kawhi, because it's not expected. He's so like deadpan. That's why. Favorite food, mom's lasagna for sure.
So obviously the Knicks and the Nets are the Nets are the talk of the town right now, but the Knicks are starting to heat up again. We won back-to-back games, but I want to get to the Nets. And obviously they made that big Harden trade, and I'm sure you covered it on your show. And Kyrie's not back tonight either, so he's gonna miss 7 straight games, and which is crazy. But he's expected to be back soon. He's back to practice. But what do you like? What do you like so far with the Harden? And obviously Harden's debut was amazing. But what do you like about these two players now? But when Kyrie comes in, do you think it's a concern, or do you think it will work out with the big three?
I think initially it's going to work out, and then I think, and then after the fact, like after the first week, the novelty of it's going to wear off, and I think it's going to become a huge problem. I'm not sure that Kyrie Irving finishes the season as a Brooklyn Net.
Really?
To be honest, yeah. Whether that be he takes a leave or he gets traded, I just don't feel that he can play third wheel to these two guys, or would like it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, so that's a hot take right there.
Yeah, and I'm not into hot takes. I really am not. And I just feel like that's the way that's going to go. I mean, KD and James Harden have experience with each other and the chemistry building. Kyrie Irving, where is he? You would have to imagine, I put myself in his teammates, like a Joe Harris's shoes. You'd have to imagine that those guys are frustrated beyond belief, having to answer questions every single day about where Kyrie Irving is. I think it's going to get old.
Oh, interesting. That's be interesting to see when it happens. But now I want to get to this important topic: women in sports. I'm a big advocate of women in sports, and obviously for you, you play baseball, and it's amazing what I'm seeing for you guys getting more opportunities. Like for my co-host, she's getting opportunity. Kim Nang, GM, Kamala Harris. 2 more days until we see her as a vice president, and then even Sarah Fuller being the first female kicker in Vanderbilt Power 5 conference, and obviously they said that she's going to speak at the inauguration, so she will be there. So what's it like just seeing all these women for yourself and getting more opportunities to cover sports, play male sports, or even coach?
I mean, I just think it's great. I think it's I use the phrase about time. I mean, Oh, and you can't forget, what's her name? And like, why am I
Oh,
blanking? Becky
Bian-
Hammond.
Becky Hammond and Bianca Smith now too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So it's just about time, and I'm just so excited for it. And I wish I had when I was somebody younger. I wish I had a Katie Sowers to look up to be a football coach. Okay, I can't play football because I'm too small, mom. But I'm gonna go learn about it, and I'm gonna go to practice, and I'm gonna coach it one day. I didn't have that, and that's so cliche to say, but it's just I'm so happy. I can't wait for it to be the norm where it's not like, oh, headline or headline this. She was hired here. It's just it's about time.
Hmm. So what's your most memorable interview you've done?
Uh, Probably. Oh man, I've done a lot. uh, Two always pop out in my mind. Dwight Gooden. I
Oh,
did
wow.
at a Mint Pros event. They do like they rent out suites at Citi Field at Yankee Stadium, and they have like former players come. So I did one there. Just his candor. And one question in particular always pops out in my mind of I asked him about like social media and how that if it were around when he played, how would that kind of change his career trajectory? And he said basically like, I wouldn't have done half the stuff that I did if social media was around to catch me. So
That's amazing.
that always sticks out. Yeah, I know, and his candor I thought was awesome. And then the other one that sticks out to me always is Lawrence Taylor. And when the question
Lawrence
that makes me
Taylor.
laugh every yeah, I asked him about being in Bill Parcells is like in crowd, and he said, "Let's be honest, Bill Parcells wasn't beep like an a-hole," and I was like, I looked at him, you're supposed to be like kind of like stoic. I just burst out laughing, and he was like looking around like it was like so bad. Everybody, the whole room of people was cracking up. So those are probably the two. I also interviewed Tobin Heath. Speaking of laughing during an
Tobin
interview,
Heath too.
Tobin Heath. She from New Jersey,
Yeah.
but I interviewed her. Let me tell you something. We were outside. I was wearing a yellow dress. This is one of the most embarrassing moments in my entire interview career. There was a bee flying around her. So I like casually tried to like swat the bee with my paper just to get it away. It was like right on her shoulder. So well, the bee didn't like that. Then the bee came after me. Like slowly. Yeah, I'm watching her eyes, watching above my head, and I'm like, oh my God. And then I'm like ducking because it's, I don't want to get stung. It was a big one.
Wow.
So you got to watch it. It's on YouTube. It's hilarious. And so she said, I'm like, now I'm like this. And she's like, it's on your shoulder. I was, what? And it wasn't on my shoulder. She was just playing with me. We were dying. We were like, she was like, do you want me to just do that whole part over again? I said, no, let's just keep it. That was kind of funny. So
Wow. That's,
yeah, those are all on my YouTube channel. You can find them there.
yeah, I'm gonna check that out. So whoever doesn't know about Danielle McCartan, what do you bring? You bring that fiery, passionate type of woman on the show, or
Yeah. I mean, I like to think that people respect me because I when people ask me what fan are you of what team, that's when I know like I like to do right down the middle. Don't accuse me of being a this fan or that fan, and that's why I have that take. I'm factual, research based. I don't really believe in hot takes. I really don't, and that was the hottest take I probably ever had in my whole career. So it's like it's just people respect that. I'm not I try to buck the narrative a lot of times too. Oh, James Harden, he sucks, blah, blah. Oh, yeah, well, guess what? People sometimes, let's just say, a change of scenery does them well. 14 assists in his first debut. I mean, come on. Now, all those people that were like, whoa, don't they look like idiots now?
yep,
Don't they?
yep.
Right? So when you really look at something and you really look at it right down the middle, I think people respect that. And when I give them my honest opinion, whether or not I'm a fan of the team or not, I think that's what people respect. And that's what I bring. I bring a logical, even keeled, research based take to the radio. And it's all stick to sports. That's another thing people don't always do. Stick to sports. It's a sports radio station. You should be
Yep.
not talking about anything else.
Yeah, for sure. So before we get to the last two things, what's that one word or motivational quote that you keep with you every day?
Maybe I can take you downstairs, but on my refrigerator, I have 3 quotes. One of them is from Hope Solo, and it's my confidence comes from, or something like that. My confidence comes from my work ethic, and that's in my Twitter bio. I believe it's still there. Hope Solo, goalie of the U.S. Women's National Team. That one is always my work ethic is second to none. I mean, I'm sitting here among all my other work too. So
Yeah.
another one is from, believe it or not, Kris Kardashian. I don't even like the Kardashians, but the quote is, "If someone tells you no, you're knocking on the wrong door." And then the other one, I read Jorge Posada's book, and there was a quote in there that said, and these are all printed out on my refrigerator downstairs, and it said something about the playing field is not always level, but if you're stubborn enough and you work hard enough, you can level that playing field yourself.
Hmm.
And that's kind of what I did and what I've done in my little short career here.
Those are amazing quotes. So the last two things here, this is a question I always bring up to all my guests. And obviously we're coming up on the Kobe and Gianna anniversary, January 26th. And do you have any like Kobe memories for yourself, and what do they mean to you?
Yeah, Kobe Bryant, when he played for the Lakers, I mean, he played for the Lakers. You didn't like him, but once I respect him more after, not that I don't respect him as a player, obviously, but, after the fact, when he retired, he got so involved, and I'm so passionate about the WNBA. I mean, his camp that he does, or whatever university that he does for all girls. I actually, and the support that he had for the WNBA was unparalleled. So I actually saw him at a game. I was at the season opener of the Las Vegas Aces. I guess it was last season, whatever season, the final season before he passed away, unfortunately. But I was at the season opener there. It was like Memorial Day weekend, and I was like, "Ooh, LeBron's probably going to be this." I was like looking. He was there, and he was there with his daughter Gigi, and they were sitting not far from me, and it was just so cool to see. And it's just so unfortunate that the WNBA lost such an ambassador, and I mean, she was going to be a star. I mean, she was already a star. So it's unfortunate that we never got to really realize her or see her full potential.
Yeah, and she was UConn bound, and obviously it could have been the next WNBA star. And man, it's just he's one of my biggest role models, Kobe. And Gianna was the tough news on me. And when I heard that Gianna was in it, it was tough. It was just it was just tough because 14-year-old kid too. It's just horrible. And speaking of the Las Vegas Aces, Al Davis brought that team, by the way, recently. So
I know.
That's crazy.
You know who else goes to every single one of those games and sits courtside? Al Davis. Every single game that guy is at.
Wow.
Yes. Yep.
And the last thing here, would you like to say anything to all the nurses, doctors, and essential workers right now?
Yeah. Thank you. I mean, as simple as that. Thank you. It's a tough times, and it's everybody, on an individual, I saw a quote one time. One of my friends is a nurse, and it's like, all right, we didn't sign up to be on the front line. No, we signed up to be on the front lines is what it was. We are nurses, we're medical professionals. But now the front line has shifted onto the onus of the people. And which is true, because in the beginning, we didn't know anything about this, right? But now they shouldn't really be on the front lines anymore. People should be taking precautions on keeping themselves and others safe. So that was very poignant when I read that from one of my friends, posted that online. But just, thank you for sacrificing on behalf of all of us so that we can have sports and talk about sports and have jobs in sports again and make money again and help me pay off my student loans as a result of it.
Yeah, but there it is. That wraps up episode 667 with the talented Danielle McCartan. She's a studio host for WFAN. She covers a lot of sports, obviously a talented journalist, inspiring one too. She works hard every day. Go follow her on all social media formats. This has been an honor. I'll be posting this on all social media formats. Keep up the great work. Keep grinding. I would like to be a guest on your show one day. But
Hey, give me a call. Give me a call. 87. You know the number. I don't need to tell you. Give me a call one day. Sure. If you're up, or set an alarm. People set alarms, which is crazy. But yeah, call me.
Yeah. But so thank you again for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure. But keep grinding. You're going to be one of the best out there, and I love it. So you and your family stay safe.
Yeah, thank you. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Keep your fingers crossed. Head down. Work hard. Yeah. And we'll see what happens. Good things come to people that work hard. So I thank you. Appreciate the opportunity, and you do a great job. Great questions.
Thank you. All right.